All right, good evening, everyone. If you could please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Dixon?
Here.
Mrs. Diglio? Here. Mrs. LaFois? Here. Mrs. Teets? Here. Mayor Kus?
Here. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this regular meeting was provided to the two newspapers of record on the official bulletin board as well on January 5th, 2020. I'm going to move to the approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the executive meeting minutes from November 13th, 2024.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the executive session on November 13th.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Roll call?
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio? Yes. Mrs. LaFois?
Yes.
Mrs. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Kus?
I abstain. We'll now move to the next item. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 13th, 2024.
I'll make the motion to approve the November 13th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I will second.
Any discussion? Any changes? Roll call?
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio?
Yes,
Mrs. LaFois?
Yes.
Mrs. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Kus?
Yes. Now entertain a motion to approve the executive meeting interview minutes from November 15th, 2024.
I'll offer the executive meeting minutes for November 15th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio?
Yes,
Mrs. LaFois?
Yes, I believe, however, that Councilman Dixon has to abstain. Matt, I think you were unable to attend that.
I believe he reviewed it.
I reviewed the video, but I mean, if I have to abstain, then that's fine. Abstain.
He's reviewed. Is that okay? I don't
He watched
recall.
the Zoom video.
Oh,
Then he's okay.
okay. Thank you, Matt.
Mrs. Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Kus?
Yes. At this point in the meeting, the town council welcomes comments from any member of the public on any topic. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit the opportunity for everyone to speak, speakers are asked to take one turn at the microphone and to please limit their comments to 3 minutes. The clerk will keep time. If reading from a prepared statement, please provide a copy and email a copy to the clerk's office after making your comments so it may be properly reflected in the minutes. Council members may choose to comment after the entire public portion has concluded. Please identify yourself and spell your last name for the record. As is customary, if anyone in person would like to speak, we'll start with you and you can step up to the microphone. Not seeing anyone in person, we'll transition to Zoom. If anyone on Zoom would like to speak, please indicate so by raising your hand.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Margaret Baldini, Baldini. I just had a question about the 2 trucks that were on the agenda for $74,000 each. I was wondering, it just says for general business use or something like that. Like, are we replacing old trucks or, what will they be used by the DPW? Just wanted a little bit more information. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else on Zoom would like to speak, please indicate so by raising your hand. Not seeing anyone else, we'll close the first public session, but don't worry, there's a second at the end. We'll move to council manager reports, beginning with town manager Russo.
Sure, Mayor, we have a presentation from the Newton Rotary. Denise, I don't know if you can come up here. Mayor, if you could join Denise and
Sure.
Police Chief Deanna Bell.
Did you want Kai to come up?
okay, well, Newton Rotary has had the opportunity to celebrate over 100 years of service to the community. And in so doing, we raised some funds and reached out to the town of Newton to see what the needs were. After speaking with Tom, he told me that there was a need for a cat quad. So we decided that we would donate the money for the cat quad. So I'm pleased to present this check for the cat quad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Say a few words, Chief.
Sure. Denise, well, thank you very much for that. It is a much needed item at our building. Our ACO building is very full with cats and dogs right now. So this will definitely assist Kai with placing our animals in proper spots. So thank you so much.
And then Chief, if you can work with Denise on a plaque, you know, we can get some. labels,
Absolutely.
Right, Denise, so we can properly recognize you.
100%.
With the Newton Rotary Club. I
Yeah,
can do
we'll,
that.
yep, I'll get your contact information. We'll get something nice written up and we'll get a plaque.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Kai.
Thank you.
A few other items, the municipal offices will be closed at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, obviously closed for Thanksgiving and Friday after Thanksgiving. So from my family to everyone, wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. We have the parade on Saturday, 10 a.m. and it's also a small business Saturday. So please support the small business community in town if you're able to. Friday, December 6th is the tree lighting here at 5 p.m. So please join us if you're able to. And as we speak, the Public Works Department is removing the Hometown Heroes banners, and at 8:30 p.m. Spring Street will be closed for the installation of the holiday wreaths. And Peggy had a question about the Bighorn 4x4 crew cabs, box trucks. Those are coming out of Water Sewer Bond Ordinance 2024-10. So those are two Ram 2500 Bighorn 4x4 crew cabs, 6-foot 4-inch box trucks for the water, sewer, and public works employees. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Councilmember Dixon.
Yes, first, thanks to the Newton Rotary for that generous donation. It's going to be a great help. This morning, myself and the mayor had a chance to go up to the roller hockey rink with the deputy town manager, recreation, town engineer, just to kind of review with the leadership of the Newton roller hockey and hear just some of their concerns. I think it was a productive conversation. I think there's a good plan going forward. I did want to also thank Doug Walsh from Superior Play Systems. They're the ones that did the sport court flooring. He's being a great help with kind of remedying some of the situation up there with the gaps. Of course, I want to thank our DPW for all the hard work and time that they've put in up there already, and that they're going to continue there. I think by the time we're done in the spring, Newton Roller Hockey will have a great facility, and hopefully, we'll be able to utilize that for the town residents as well in the future. Other than that, just happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and that's all for me for now.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Diglio.
Okay, just to let the public know, I know Tom did mention the holiday parade. Plans are literally being done right now. Santa Claus's house has been set up and just needs to be moved into place. The wreaths are going up. And I want to thank DPW for all the work that they have been assisting me with this holiday parade, with the wreaths and everything else that they do. So, and I wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilmember Teets.
Nothing at this time other than to, I know the Rotary Club folks have left, but to thank them for their generous gift. And also just to say the weather for Saturday is no rain. It is only going to be 37, so bundle up, but come out and support because there's warmth in numbers. But again, no rain or snow.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is all. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor LaFleur.
Yeah, so on November 16th, we had the Newton Medical Center tree lighting and annual festival of lights. It's always great to see the community groups coming out to sing. Of course, we missed the fireworks this year, but certainly understand due to the very dry spell that we're in. But it's great to see the community who's historically and for so many years supports the medical center in this fundraising event. So thank you to everyone who attended to make that community event happen. And certainly to our police department who does a wonderful job in getting people via shuttle, but also just mitigating traffic. It's so busy and crazy, while at the same time operating as a full hospital. And I know first aid squad's on standby and everyone else is out helping. So appreciate that community effort, and it just makes the entrance to the hospital so beautiful this time of year. As everybody said, we have the parade this weekend and really looking forward to everybody coming out, but especially want to thank Sandy for your hard work on not only this parade, but all the parades. And there's a lot of moving pieces up until including from the time that the parade kicks off and during the parade. And I know you never really get to march with the rest of us because you're back making sure everybody's lined up the way they're supposed to be, but I just wanted to publicly acknowledge you. And then as Tom mentioned, it is Small Business Saturday. So right after the parade, would love to encourage everybody that attends to stay and patronize the businesses that are on Spring Street. Really, small businesses are the backbone of our community in so many different ways, providing jobs and obviously creating a vibrant downtown area. But from what I understand, all the businesses will be open and looking forward to greeting people. No planning board meeting in November, so the mayor and I don't have anything to report there. Wanted to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving, and to everybody as our first responders and critical staff that will be working during Thanksgiving. Thank you in advance for your hard work and for being there. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. The only thing that I will add is that in addition to Councilmember Teets, Deputy Mayor LaFois, and a number of town professionals, we attended the League of Municipalities Conference last week down in South Jersey. And I don't know what courses or classes or lectures everyone else went to, but I caught one that I think was of particular interest, looking forward to next year and some of the goals that we're setting concerning some of the safe street programs that exist in the state. There's some good information from both Eatontown and Hopewell, who've had some success in those areas. And as traffic increases and drivers' education seems to decrease, we definitely have some improvement to do in those areas, and a lot of good information to use to go forward. Moving forward, we have one ordinance for introduction this evening. It's ordinance 2024-33, which is an ordinance to establish minimum and maximum salaries and wages for officers and employees of the town of Newton for calendar year 2025. I entertain a motion to introduce ordinance 2024-33.
I'll offer ordinance 2024-33.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio. Yes. Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Kus.
Yes. The public hearing will be on Monday, December 9th, right here.
Yep.
Yes. Now move to our consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the town council and will be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Mr. Russo, if you would not mind a rundown, please.
Yes, and Mayor, before I do that, could there be a motion, second, and a vote on adding resolution 285-2024 to the consent agenda, please?
Sure. Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024 rather, to the consent agenda, the resolution of rejection, Golden Inc. for bid of 2R-2023 water treatment plant Clearwell and High Street.
I will make a motion to add resolution 285-2024 to the consent agenda.
And I will second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio. Yes. Mrs. LaFois.
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Kus.
Yes.
Resolution 278 is a shared service with Sussex Borough for Animal Control. 279 is the approval of cooperative purchasing contract. 280 is the execution of shared service for Frieden for animal control. 281 is a change order number 1 for Duma Valley View Babbitt. That's a decrease. 282 is an interlocal services agreement with Newton and Green for court. 283 is an interlocal service agreement for Newton and Frieden for court, so that's new. 284 is bills and vouchers, and then the aforementioned 285 is a last minute addition from our QPA. It's a bid rejection for Morris Lake Water Treatment Plant, Clearwell and High Street. Bids came in too high at 750,000, which far exceeded the budget for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair roll call.
Need a motion and second first.
Chair motion.
I'll offer the consent agenda as presented. Just prior, I just want to make a comment, since we have the police chief and our ACO officer, that was duplicative, our ACO here. And Tom and your team, you know, we talk about, and I've said this before, as a way to save money and share the amazing services that our staff is able to provide. We are always seeking the ability to have shared service agreements, interlocal services agreements, et cetera, with the town of Newton and some of our neighbors. And just the number of towns that we have shared services with through our ACO program is really amazing. And I can't remember where we were, Chief, in Atlantic City, but we were talking to, oh, no, and JP, you were there too. Actually, both you were there. We were talking to Hardwick, the mayor and deputy mayor in Hardwick, who had just wonderful things to say about Kai and the entire program, responsiveness, professionalism, et cetera. So I just wanted to say thank you because, you know, we continue to add a couple of towns. And then also the now adding Frieden Township to courts. I mean, this is all revenue that's coming in, which I know Mr. Perry very much appreciates as Tom are going through the budgeting cycle now. So with that, I'll offer the consent agenda. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio. Yes. Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Kus.
Be an abstention on checks 12019 and 12032. Yes, on. Now move to our second public session this evening. Anyone in person who would like to speak, same rules apply. Step forward to the microphone. And if you're on Zoom and would like to speak, please indicate so by raising your hand. Not seeing anyone in either venue, we'll close the second public session and move to a discussion this evening of a fee ordinance.
Yes, Mayor, I'll ask the new police chief to come up. He's very busy, as we can see. Recommending some changes to some fees. You were provided this information via email, so I'll have the chief walk through some of the recommendations related to chapter 100-13, 100-24. So I'll turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. 113 is our animals chapter. We reviewed several of these and I have some suggestions. I can go down the list, starting with one, if that's the easiest way to go. One was for a destruction or surrender of any dog or cat. Previously, it was set at a $300 amount. The request is to have minimums and maximums. With that being said, we have some residents in town that are financially in trouble and they can't care for their animals. And having that hard number at $300 to surrender an animal when they don't have money to take care of this animal to begin with, I just feel that having a minimum and maximum would give us a little bit more leeway with some of our residents in surrendering or having their animal destruction.
So how is that determined? Is it just a request?
So it would be a request, you know, we could, Kai is very, very good in getting to know these people. You know, sometimes we're there a few times, you know, before it comes to this and they just, I mean, we've had, I'll when I go on, I'll give you a kind of an example of why I want to do a minimum and maximum, but ultimately it's so at the end of the day, we got to take the animal anyway, whether they can pay something or pay nothing. You know, I think having that minimum and maximum would help us out, at least to try to recoup some costs. Because if they don't have any money, we're taking the animal anyway. You know, so if we have that minimum and maximum, we could potentially, you know, offer that to them, and it may be a little bit more feasible for those people. Discussion, or do you want me to move on to the next?
I guess if they don't have money, wouldn't it be wiser to make the minimum $100 maybe instead of 150?
I'm up to anything. This is just my proposal, you know,
Say go through each one and then we'll.
Then-
Yeah.
okay.
There's some kind of tied together.
Yep, absolutely. So expenses incurred by reason for a dog's detention, including maintenance. We had it set for not to exceed $100 for the first day, and then $50 each additional day, and then a $50 pickup fee for each dog or cat. Again, the proposed is leaving it at $100 maximum for the first day, and then the additional days, again, a range minimum of 25 and a maximum of 50. And then the same thing for the pickup fee. Sometimes we have a dog for a day and we just charge the pickup fee, which is allotted by this ordinance. Again, with that,
Check really quickly, so. Social relation. This would be a circumstance, or the specific fee that you're talking about right now would be a circumstance where like there's a loose animal and the animal is you know, captured or turned in, and then we're just housing it until we learn.
correct. Or it's, we've had a case where people go to the hospital.
Right.
And now we need to take care of this cat, dog, for sometimes it's a very extended period of time. We had a veteran, went to a hospital, didn't have a lot of money, and we're trying to get this, at the end of the day, we want to get these people their animals back. But when we're bound by an amount, you know, it's tough to say, okay, sir, you know, I know you're back and healthy, but you owe us, you know, $1,000, you know, for your animal. And I get it. Like,
And we have had
we,
that.
we are incurring costs. I get it, you know, but there are certain circumstances that I think having a minimum and maximum where we could, you know, evaluate that person a little better to get that person's animal back. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to hold on to these animals. I mean, we're packed, we're full,
Yeah.
you know. Again, changing a couple things under D, microchipping, we left the same. Trap rentals, they're far and few between. That's we're actually going to increase that from 15 to 25 per week. Those are residents that want help. There's an issue with whatever they're dealing with, and we will lend them a trap for $25 a week. I think 15 was a little low. And then adoption fees, we had it set for $125 per cat and $300 for dog. Again, my proposal would be $125 for one cat. If they want 2 cats, they're $100 each. If they want 3 or more, they're $75 each. We recently had a gentleman that wanted 1 cat, then he came there, and then he wanted 2 cats, and then he came there and he wanted 3 cats, and $125 each. It was just it was steep. We have somebody that wants a bunch of cats, and I think that would be the incentive to adopt more cats, because your cost is going to go down, you know, if you take more than 1. So that was that proposal. Do you want me to move on to the special service charge?
Copying fees, Jim.
Yep, copying fees. So under Oprah, Discovery, Subpoena, we are allowed to charge a special service charge, which we don't have anywhere in our ordinance, and I would like to add it. It is mainly for redaction of body worn camera and motor vehicle recordings. This is a software that Chief Van Ulen had purchased. It was expensive, it's time consuming, and I feel we're allowed to charge an amount. I spoke with Mr. Bernstein's office about coming up with a fee. We agreed that $50 an hour was well below what the statute says we can charge, and there won't be, if there was any contention about the cost, we could show that, hey, this is what we can actually charge, and we're going to charge a little bit less to be fair to one, members of the public under Oprah, Discovery, or whatnot. So that $50 an hour is a happy medium on both sides of the fence there.
Chief, why did we add the language about, or the actual direct cost of labor if less? In other words, if less than the 50, why did we add that language? Eric, whoever.
I would say it leaves us open to, if we hire somebody that just to do redactions, right?
Charge lesser.
Right. As of right now, it's, you know, what we have available to us. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salary.
Right. Right. And it's on average for every hour of video, the state's average, it takes about 3 hours to redact that video. So it's time consuming, you know, and you have 4 guys on a call, and so that's 4 hours of video, and we have to, you know, it's labor intensive. So I think this will recoup some of our costs, because we have a guy out that's sitting in an office, you know, trying to redact all these videos, and it's not just 1 or 2. He's getting Oprah requests and Discovery requests, you know, all day long. And then with that, under this law, we have to explain this to whoever's asking for it. We can come up with an agreement. Sometimes if there's 4 guys on a call, they can talk to the person who wants this tape and say, hey, this is what your cost is going to be.
Right.
Maybe you just want the complaint signing officer, not everybody else that's on scene, not doing everything that you want. There's also Mr. Bernstein sent over or Terry sent over a blanket language that we can send out to these people. Moving on, yep, escrow, moving it from $98 an hour to $100 an hour, and the administration fee from $9 to $10. That just goes with the contract increase for the year. It's a minimal increase just for step increase for the top step patrolman.
All very reasonable to me.
So
What
Joe,
happens-
well, go ahead.
Michelle, please.
What happens if you get, you know, me and my friend Joe, and, you know, you charge me a certain amount and I find out you only chose Joe a certain amount, like, who's gonna make that determination? You know, like,
Right. Well, I would ultimately make the determination, coming from Kai's suggestion.
like.
Right, right. You know, whatever's going on in that person's life, you know, I think it's not a large amount of difference. I think, you know, we could justify to anybody, you know, why we charge somebody $25 less, you know, for that pickup fee or whatever fee we're talking about. And I would be comfortable, you know, explaining that to somebody.
So one recommendation that I might make is in 113, the animal charges.
Bless you.
The elimination of a minimum. I think that, you know, you may run into the circumstance where you have a truly indigent individual who, for whatever reason, can't even afford the minimum. And I think that having the opportunity, or at least the option, to respect that case and return an animal to the owner in a truly indigent case
Right,
may provide some benefit, you know, for mental health purposes, for companionship purposes. Especially if it is a longer term issue where you do have somebody in the hospital,
Right.
facing hospital bills, other things. You still, you know, provide that ability to waive the cost in a truly legitimate situation like that.
Right.
Where otherwise you're kind of pigeonholing them to at least $150, which might sound low, but
sure,
to some may not actually be a feasible amount.
right,
So along the same lines, I was gonna say too, you know, what happens if someone truly cannot even pay the minimum? If it's in the ordinance where the minimum, your hands are tied a little bit,
Right.
right?
would you be opposed to,
Or
having
do we have
some
those
sort
cases
of,
now? They do, I mean, what happened? Like, is
Right.
it just, it's not a, is it a lien? I mean, what happens if people aren't?
we could have Terry send a bill out and, you know, if it gets paid, it gets paid. You know,
I've had to do that in the
If you eliminate
past.
the minimum,
Right.
it gives the
Right.
option, it provides the option
Right.
if you want it.
right, would you be opposed to having some sort of language drawn up by Mr. Bernstein to, in rare, something like in rare cases, you know, extenuating circumstances, fees may be waived with the approval of,
Oh, no. The problem with opening up extenuating circumstances.
The definition of that.
Mhm.
Is who's gonna make that decision? If you would like to leave, I would suggest that the chief did a minimum. If the minimum is too high, lower the minimum. If they can't pay, Terry sends the bill and we write it off, just like you do with ambulance from the insurance carrier. Otherwise, you're gonna get into exactly what you
Yeah, I
all
could
just
definitely see that
discussed.
point as
Mm.
well. I mean. I'm okay with Councilwoman Diglio's suggestion of lowering the minimum to 100. On 100-13-1.
I just think it opens the door for negative media potentially, you know, we're not gonna give a dog back, they're sending me bills, this is my friend, this is my best friend. I just think it opens the door, where if you leave out an extenuating circumstance language, just set a maximum, it then give you the option without explicitly stating. That's my.
Well, the challenge is they've provided the animal for us to destroy. So not much of a best friend at that point. So there's some circumstance that forces them to release the animal and if they don't pay for it, we're paying for it, which means the rest of the taxpayers are paying for that individual's decision. And then you have to weigh if that's fair to the other 9,000 people in the town that they're all paying for the destruction or surrender of that particular cat or dog.
So I'm not necessarily talking about that case, I'm talking about, you know, the, like, number 2, the detention.
Like a hospital stay, like you mentioned earlier.
Right. If the animal's being surrendered, that's a different circumstance. I'm talking about I was in the hospital for a month. I now have, you know, a $2,000 charge from the town to get my dog back and I'm facing $35,000 in medical bills.
Yeah, I thought we were still talking about number 1, and in other words, consensus on the 102 to 350.
But you have the same issue. You're basically, the question is, do you want to get into the hotel motel business of boarding animals? And when the time comes, unfortunately, they're unable to pay. I mean, I think you should allow the chief and the animal control people to have the discretion to make the decision on a case by case basis, but not leave it open to such extent that people believe that the Newton animal control is going to become the best the best boarding place in Sussex County,
Huh.
because we know that if we just tell them we got all these bills, they'll never charge us.
So on number 2, would you consider putting a maximum out-of-pocket expense? Like, we have the minimum maximum and then, cap it out at a certain dollar amount. So if someone is in the hospital for an extended period of time. Maximum $1,000 max, what I mean? Still gives us discretion, but it does cap it out for somebody.
Well, then you'll have to figure out what the maximum fee is.
Yeah, not to exceed 500 or something.
Well, why don't we ask, okay, if someone has, under these circumstances, someone has an animal in, what is the actual cost on a per day basis to actually take care of this animal, feeding it, housing it? What's the actual cost? I mean, you're saying 25 to 50, what is the actual cost where you can determine how to set a limit
Right.
at the top?
I mean, I don't have that to you. I don't have that,
Mhm.
right off. I'd have to,
Yeah.
go on to see the food cost, and then who's on staff that day, right.
Is that cat, is it?
Right,
dog,
right,
is it free cat?
right.
Right.
Like
Electricity to run the place.
Right.
heat,
Yeah.
Air conditioning.
Yeah. It's hard to make that decision. Yeah. Right.
Unless you know the
Right.
cost. And say,
Right.
because again, you're talking about if we do that, then whatever's left over goes on the taxpayers.
Right.
So you need to actually cover the cost.
Right.
And once you cover the cost, then you're
Right.
clear to do what you want.
Right.
But you need to cover the
Right.
cost.
I mean, listen, I completely get trying to cap it. On the other hand of that is, well, if I know that, Newton's only gonna charge me $500, well, they can hang out for a month. Will I go to Florida? I mean, I don't think there's a perfect solution to any of this. It's trying to mitigate our expenses, our capacity,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
in a perfect world, getting the people's animals out of our shelter and back to where they belong. And I think we need to find that middle ground.
Joe, do you have any stats on how long you do keep a dog or a cat for?
Well, we have 4 right now, and we've had 2 for at least 2 weeks, correct, Kai?
Yeah.
It's tough, like we've gone months with nothing, with no dogs and cats, just cats, and now we have this, we have 4,
And we
right?
know
We
who
have
the
4
owners
now,
are?
Kai? Or 3?
We have been.
4. So, and it's trying to get, I mean, unfortunately, these animals are being dumped and
And we know who the owners are. Are they chipped or?
nothing.
No.
So, and trying to find rescues that will take them. Because we're a holding facility, we're not a shelter, and it's tough. So we picked up 2. We have 2 spots, and now we have these dogs for 2 weeks now, and now we have another 2.
It's not even just us. We reach out across the states. We reach out to New York, PA, all over New Jersey. Everyone is full. So no one can really accept dogs at the moment, especially dogs that size, bonded pays. We had 2 dogs that are bonded. It's really tough to move these dogs with the way the climate is nowadays.
Right.
What about foster? Do we have anybody who's willing to foster?
So we are looking into that. I try to, if I don't have to foster, I don't want to foster, because I don't want to open up the town to liability and more problems, in somebody's home. At this point, I've already told Kai and the other ACOs, we are going to have to look to foster because we have no room. I'm gonna grab Mr. Bernstein on the way out of here and talk about that. But we have to.
No, I'm not.
Helen will call your wife.
We have no choice,
Plus, I'm staying with
you know.
you.
Because I know we foster.
Only Mary right now.
Right, which not, I just don't like if we can handle it, I would like to keep them in-house. We're responsible for them. We're not asking somebody's family to, you know, care for these, you know, animals. God forbid something happens.
It's different when they're a volunteer for Barks or another association, because they're covered under different insurances and
Right.
things. I'm creating a volunteer foster program because we are not yet pet friendly at our domestic violence shelter. But we will be by next year. And the insurance piece is a whole other,
Mhm.
I mean, we probably have to change complete insurance carriers for the whole shelter just to become pet friendly, because not everyone will
Ensure.
insure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
insure it.
that's my apprehension on fostering.
I agree with you.
Unfortunately, we got to do something because we have no room. You know,
Yeah, unless you're setting, unless Kai's setting up the Barks of Newton nonprofit
Yeah.
umbrella, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll speak about something else at a later time, but you know, more room. I don't know the answer, you know, but we'll talk about that at a later time. I don't think that's this meeting.
That's a good hearing.
So are there other situations, other fees that we charge, which, you know, financial hardship is taken into account?
Ambulance squad charge?
We don't charge. So if we take that example though, in municipalities or agencies that do charge, it's not just we send you a bill if you don't pay it. You know, there is a mechanism for financial hardship determination in order to enact the compassionate villains policy. So
It depends on the town. I mean, generally, when you've got a situation, and this is not terribly analogous, but somewhat. The trip goes, the insurance carrier, the carrier hopefully pays, the squad accepts the payment, then life moves on. And then if somebody runs up an incredible bill, and it doesn't happen often, this is not like people are getting stiffed on a regular basis.
Right.
People don't have insurance for pets. Anyone who's got a pet insurance is hopefully not hoarding cats and dogs and other animals in your shelter.
right, so what I'm potentially suggesting here, if there are,
You're gonna have people reviewing to see whether or not I'm
well, that's what would be,
qualify as a financial hardship.
well, that's what would be happening otherwise if we're charging them $100 or $200 or $500. If it, you know, we're giving people a range of, you know, at least for like destruction purposes, we're giving them a range of 150 to 350. There still has to be some determination made there. So what criteria are we then using to say, well, we're gonna get charged 150, but we're gonna charge you 350?
I would assume, and these two gentlemen can correct me, that some of it is based on prior knowledge.
Right.
And some of it is based on the situation at hand. If you're going to start reviewing financial hardship, you're going to want people to start providing documentation to show financial hardship, much of which, with all due respect, is none of your fill in the blank business and isn't going to be available to you. If I'm on social services doesn't even know all the material that necessarily they need. So I think to some extent, folks, the way to go is to look at the concept of making back your money, maybe some additional to cover additional costs. And leaving the powers that be, making these hopefully minimal, very infrequent determinations that somebody just simply will take what we can get versus trying to push them and get nothing.
Right, so I just circling back, the crux of my point here is, you know, there very well may be a case where someone can't provide anything. I wouldn't want to be in a situation where we are pigeonholing them because we have a number there. If we're already creating the need for some discrimination between $150 or $350 or $25 minimum versus $50, what's the difference if it's 150 or if it's zero? We're still forcing some determination and inequity to be created simply by having a range. I'm not saying that you have to ever use it, but if there is a circumstance that the opportunity is there for the $0
The concern about a range is to set a minimum to the extent that you actually might recoup something. If you leave it with zero, this is personal, then it gives people the impression that that's what they're going to have to pay is zero. You have to leave them with at least something there that they understand there's a minimum. And it becomes, I'll pay the 100, but I'll pay it $20 a week for the next 5 weeks, at least they'll get paid. If you put zero or leave it open-ended, well, it doesn't say what the minimum is.
But if they don't pay, there's no consequence anyway.
I don't think you want to see the chief of the animal control officer here next year telling you that you just hold up the tab for X thousands of dollars on the house. Because everybody was very good and cried and 14 cats and we had to get them out of there and
So percentage basis or number roughly, how many cases do we have where someone is protesting the fee?
I would say at least 3 that I'm aware of. We recently have one of the animals, one of the dogs. We're working with another agency where there may be a criminal charge. So that's one. We had the veteran that had his animal there for, is it a week?
And that individual is still in the facility. It's been about a month and a half, 2 months at this point,
Right.
just as an example.
Right. And I know there was one more. Oh, one more was the person that wanted more cats. Which kind of sparked the let's reevaluate what we have.
So that's 3 for this calendar year or?
Correct. There may be more, but those are 3 that stand off, the top of my head of me personally, when I looked at it, the range could have helped.
Matt, you've been silent. What do you have to say?
So I was just, you don't want to put a set range. And I'm guessing Eric doesn't think that we could put language that kind of says more of up to, not to exceed. And kind of leave it open that way.
I don't
That's still
necessarily have a problem. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't necessarily have a problem with it not to exceed. I don't necessarily have a problem with a minimum. The issue I have is 2 parts. One is no minimum. Because that's like, and the other is the legal phraseology of it in rare circumstances, exceptional circumstances, you need fill in the blank before the word circumstances. Leaves it very open-ended unless you're going to start putting criteria down. Which almost begs the question, why do I have to come in and show my last 3 1040 forms? In order to prove I don't have enough money to pay. So I'm not against a minimum to a maximum and leaving the town with the control. I'm not necessarily against it and not to exceed on the expenses for, boarding, so to speak. But I think Sandy raised it and Alan and everybody pretty much on the day is we need to know what the cost is so that the not to exceed figure at least minimally covers our costs and maybe a few dollars beyond just a
sure.
Take into account that dog food, cat food, etc. does go up.
Oh, yeah. So would it be possible to find out what the minimum cost is to house a cat a
Absolutely.
day?
Yep.
So we have an idea. House a dog, because the dog cost is gonna be more. They eat more, so it's gonna be more. So as soon as we can have that information, then we can figure out what up to max could be.
Is it only dogs and cats we're taking?
Well, we've had some other kind of animals.
You had a pig for
Yeah,
God,
but,
a pig
those
for
are
God.
rare cases,
That's
Right,
fine. I just
right.
wanted to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
all the curiosity.
Yep.
I point out to the governing body that this ordinance is not going to be introduced until the new year. Because you only got one meeting between now and where you work, and therefore you're not gonna be able to do it, like whatever special meeting, just to deal with this, which I somehow doubt. So if the chief and Kai can have the information to the Tom's office before the 9th. You all can then make a decision, we can draft up the ordinance and have it for you for introduction where you work. Not at the reorg, we're not gonna introduce it here. So is that boss? We're not gonna introduce that. For sometime in January after. But whatever the council wants to do, I'm just saying it won't be introduced before the 15th, that to begin with.
Are you guys okay with the other fees or no?
I'm fine with the other fees.
So everything on D is okay, copying fees is okay, and the escrow is okay, it's just a question of 100-13C 1 and 2.
So in a brief review for the copying fees redaction fees. It does seem like other departments have other mechanisms of doing this, either different costs or per minute, actually. Some of them looked into, I don't know if it's worth maybe taking a sample of redactions that we have done and see how much time we're actually looking at and see if there's a. Or maybe a, that maybe this went into it and feel free to say so if it is, just like a local poll, you know, where are we the only ones doing this, and if so, you know, is this seemingly on par for what the other local police departments are doing for redaction fees? You know, I wouldn't want to necessarily have something that's completely off basis. Understanding the statute allows us to charge more, but you know, maybe just a, you know, the quick survey, what everyone else is doing.
We would be under the amount charged by other local. They're just taking that officer's salary and just plugging that number in there.
So depending on who the officer is that's doing it, it's all different fees and costs.
So, yeah, so the department,
The
the department will decide who can have access to this video and review it and redact it. And whatever rank that person is, they charge that lowest rank that is doing that job. We are well below what we could be charging. I think that's a little high, to be honest with you. I think $50 is a good happy medium. And I mean, there has been challenges and they've upheld them because I mean, it's
Special services
Yep.
cost, folks, was one of the driving issues that that turned itself into the change in the law. It is one of the places we expect to be another round of challenges along with legal fees. When my brethren decide that they're not getting their money's worth.
So.
And the other part of the puzzle is that if I want this from discovery point of view, I don't have to pay.
Say
You're
that again
actually,
for me.
if I don't make what many of my brethren have decided to do in the plaintiff's bar is use Oprah as a mechanism to acquire discovery in anticipation of either a litigation or discovery request. If I wait my turn, so to speak, and file my case and submit a discovery request as part of my regular course of business, you don't get to charge. I have to turn all that material over to you redacted at your expense. So though I loathe potentially encouraging this, and I do loathe it, because I think it's an abuse of the law. Understand that if we go in the other direction, you don't get charged, you don't get the $50, you don't get anything. And he spends it because he's got somebody staring at the body.
screen for hours and hours.
So.
So you made mention of this, I want to dig into this a little bit. There's an opportunity to have this work outsourced. Did I understand that correctly?
I mean, you could pay for it.
So, but it sounds like the end user would pay for it. Not us. Because if someone's request, we wouldn't have someone redacting it unless someone made the request.
Yeah, but it's,
We would charge them.
I don't think that's accurate. I think we would have to pay that fee, because it's not on the end user, it's on the town of Newton.
Downtown.
Yeah,
Are you going
So
back?
maybe I'm misunderstanding this. So but we have the ability to levy the special services cost for having that redacted.
right.
So how would we not?
Because if we're not doing it ourselves, we have to pay somebody to do it.
Oh, so then we can't transfer that cost.
Correct.
Okay, that,
That, by the way, was part of the litigation from the last rounds of Oprah was exactly that issue.
Right.
It cost me $50,000 to send it out.
Yep.
I'm sending you a bill for $50,000 and the answer is
Nope.
no. And
Right.
ask where
Right.
Of course, spent over $1 million on legal fees to litigate a special services charge with the Courier News. So. I mean, my office took a look at it. I know the chief worked with Dominic from my office, so we want to know Dominic. Dominic, considered one of the leading Oprah attorneys in the state. So I think this is it's a good compromise position. And I can't be guaranteed that other police departments are following the new law.
Right.
Or you can make Terry review them.
My office doesn't charge anything for Oprah's.
Remember,
Wait,
for those of you
yeah.
who forgotten what copying costs are,
But no one takes a copy. They want everything emailed, and if
Right.
it's emailed, then
but
you
e-
can't
but-
charge
but-
them.
But even, that's right, and even the
Yeah.
copying costs are ridiculous.
Yeah,
Those-
yeah, 5 cents and 7
Yeah.
cents, yeah, but yeah, 400 Oprahs a year. Amount of hours that the staff in my office does and the rest of the, like Kimberly's office. It's unbelievable. And we're a small town.
Mhm.
1.25 day.
Right, so we have our marching orders. I'll work with the chief on the revisions to C1 and 2. Get them to you either for the next meeting.
If anybody has
First
any
meeting
other
in January.
questions on 24.
Questions on it. Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Let me hold on to this. Give it to the boss.
Perfect. He's the money guy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, any final council or manager comments this evening?
I wish everybody had Thanksgiving.
Yes. Safe travels.
Any others? Matt, any last words?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Still moving at 7:58 PM, 7:59 PM.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstaining?
Happy Thanksgiving to all.